It's every traumatized kid's dream that one day your parents will finally see how much their abusive behavior hurt you. And they'll change, and they'll say they're sorry, and they'll reach out even if you had to cut them out of your life for a long time. And they'll do everything that's needed to set things right at last. But if you think about it, what could set things right? And even if they really had changed, would you be able to handle picking up that relationship again without falling back down into a place you know too well, where you're depressed and dysregulated and your life gets stuck because you saw them? My letter today is from a woman I'll call Eileen, and she says, "Dear Crappy Childhood Fairy, my question today is about reconciliation with a parent after 20 years of no contact. My parents were two people who both experienced abuse and neglect in childhood. They were profoundly addicted to alcohol, substances, impulsive choices, and their own drama." All right, I've got the fairy pencil here. I'm circling things I want to come back to on a second reading, but let's go through and see what Eileen is talking about here. There was a lot of conflict, emotional abuse, neglect, and some violence. I don't believe that they were malicious people at their core. However, they created a steady stream of unsafe situations that eventually led to one in which I experienced abuse from multiple sources of people living in a home with my father, however, not by him. When my parents found out, they blamed me and each other, and I broke and I just sort of shut down. Our life was chaotic. My mother would eventually lose custody of the other children and became physically absent as she would leave with random boyfriends. My mother died of complications related to her alcoholism when I was 15, and my father continued to drink. And when I was 20, I got into university and I saw it as my chance to have a different future. I created a boundary with my father that I would not be around him if he were consuming alcohol. However, if he got sober, I would speak to him. And then 20 years went by with almost no contact, and he would occasionally find contact with me, and he or his girlfriend would phone to yell mean comments about me. One time the number they found was for my ex-mother-in-law when I was newly married to a guy from a nice family, and it was incredibly demoralizing. My adult life was objectively better than my childhood. I got a job as a registered nurse. I was having alcohol-fueled conflict in my personal life, but I was able to work essentially without boundaries for over a decade, which, while it was unhealthy, left me as a homeowner with savings, which was something no one had ever had in my childhood, and is helping me immensely to heal in this moment. I know what you mean. I'm building a strong romantic relationship with a securely attached man who has boundaries and understands my past and emotional reactivity, and is willing to bear with me as I work on building healthy conflict and repair skills. I have a close, supportive relationship with my half-sister, who is my closest friend, and I'm working to create supportive friendships. I've been sober from alcohol also for over 2 years. This is sounding so good. So I get a message from one of my father's past partners sharing with me that both she and he are now sober for 3 years. And she shared with me that he has shared a long list of regrets with her as part of his recovery work that include regrets about his behavior during my childhood. She asked if I would be willing to speak to him. I said yes. I mean, he has fulfilled my request, and this is what every broken kid wants, right? Their parent to work on themselves and come back to apologize. I received a message from him, and he tells me that he has seen my artistic work and that he's so proud of me, and he loves me and signs it Dad. I realize that I have no idea how to navigate this. Yeah. I've asked him if we can message for a while instead of speaking because I need a little time. The truth is, I'm worried that I could become dysregulated on the phone, but he has accepted my request. On the one hand, I want to be grateful to be in this position, and I'm so happy for him, and getting sober is a lot of work. But on the other hand, the experiences that I had with him in my early life caused me to be programmed in a way that hurt me and others in my life profoundly for years. I had to do a lot of healing from that time, and I did it without his love and support. So I kind of feel like the big dad-sized wound that infected my ability to connect, the dad-sized wound, yes, that infected your ability to connect so long is mostly healed, and it involved me emotionally stepping away from having needs for a parent. So when he says these kind meaning words, it feels disingenuous, and I can feel myself saying, hey, that doesn't fit here. But he's not the same man. He's an old sober guy who looks like this guy who couldn't help me when I was small. And the truth is, I'm not angry with him. He's more of a stranger. How do I navigate this in a peaceful and healed way? How do I prevent myself from devolving into a puddle of childhood needs if we have a conversation? And more practically, what would we even talk about? What kind of relationship does one build in this situation? Please share any insight or practical ideas that you have, and if my letter's not right for the show, but you know of a resource that addresses this, I would be equally grateful. Eileen, I'd be happy to help. Wow. I'm just really happy for you. First, before we even get to your dad, what a good job you've done. What you describe here is like, that's the dream. You know, we think the dream is that they'll come back and apologize. Maybe they will and maybe they won't. Some damage has been done. We'll see how it goes. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But you, my friend, you're building a strong romantic relationship with a securely attached man who has boundaries and understands your past and how you're emotionally reactive sometimes. And he will bear with you as you work on building healthy conflict and repair skills. Wow. And you have a close relationship with your half-sister who's your best friend. And you're working on creating supportive friendships. And you've been sober for over 2 years. I just love the place you're in. I'm such a fan of that magical time in people's lives. I just love being around people who are in this transformation. And it never ends, does it? I mean, sometimes things settle down or they get dry for a while. But where you are right now, I'm just delighted to hear from you. And I hope everybody can hear, like, this is possible. This is possible. And especially when you mentioned about alcohol-fueled conflicts, working as a nurse. I know that nurses, I mean, yeah, that's like a very popular job for adult children of alcoholics. And there's something about the sort of crisis mentality and the boundarylessness that's rewarded there. There's just like a really nice fit there for some of us. So I'm just glad like you've turned it into your thing and it's good and it got you a house and money and good job. I think money is very underestimated in literature about trauma. People who have money just think, oh, money is just trivial. It's just an outside consideration. It's like, when you don't have it, my sister, it's more than a like little thing. It's freedom. It's freedom, and it gives you a place of strength. So good job. And you have a profession, and that's really good too. So your dad shows up in your life, and it turns out he's been sober for 3 years, and he sent this ex to talk to you about it, which I think is sometimes how it's done when somebody's not sure if you want to hear from them. So they send sort of a messenger who might be a little more neutral to test the waters. Would you be willing to be in contact? So he's reached out and you've asked for time and he said, okay, I'm liking this so far. But here's what I think. I think that you will never be sorry that you proceed slowly, because even if it goes really well, when things go really fast, it can be overwhelming. Like you're worried about getting dysregulated on the phone with him. It probably will happen. It's like we can borrow from healthy dating about going slowly, titrating intimacy with somebody. Titrating, which means going slowly. You're a nurse, so you know the word. You go slowly. You administer some medicine. You see how are the vital signs? Is it going okay? All right, give a little more, but only a little at a time. You just don't dump the whole big dose in. You wait and see. Are they allergic? Can they tolerate this? Is it going to trigger some other reaction in some other part of their physiology? That's kind of what I think is really important for those of us who are traumatized, is that we titrate closeness with people, especially when it's charged as this. Now, I'm assuming you're sober because you're in a program of recovery. Maybe you have a sponsor. And so maybe you can do super duper bookending, which is a concept I learned in 12-step recovery, where you call or text somebody before you're going to do something hard and you call and text them afterward. And that way, going into like a phone call with your dad for the first time, you will be talking before, you will be talking after. It's like you're holding a rope. Was I talking about this here in real life? So I used to love the books by Laura Ingalls Wilder as a kid. I still love them. I think they're brilliant. But there's this one of the books called The Long Winter, and the blizzard is so intense that if Pa were to have to go from the house to the barn to go water the animals, he'd get lost in the snow. And so when on a day when he could see, he stuck a rope between the house and the barn, and then he would put his hand on the barn and follow the rope to the barn. That's what we have to do sometimes, because it is like walking into a blizzard for us emotionally. Making contact with somebody where it's that charged, where this is the person who abused you. This is the person who left you to like basically raise yourself, who allowed bad things to happen to you. So of course it's going to come up, but this is why programs of recovery are really strong, because they're all about learning ways to handle life one day at a time, which is another principle we want here. One day at a time. You don't have to promise that you're going to be besties now. You can just talk one time and then say, all right, well, this was good to talk to you for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Maybe we can do this again sometime. Let me think about it for a while. And it sounds like he's somebody who can hear that. So you get to just take it in little bits and check in with yourself. I think this is what we didn't get as kids. We didn't get help to like process our experiences and sort of go, how do I feel about that? I feel like I was a little vulnerable there, or I feel like I don't want to meet in this place anymore. I want it to be like this if I do it again, or I don't want to do it. I love that you have a partner. So you told me he's supportive, and so he can know, and maybe that's a good time to get together with him or get to a meeting and see him and just get that support lined up so that you have a chance to kind of like talk about how it went, but not fall off the rails with it, right? Just stay grounded in your own life, and you're going to go to work the next day. You're going to do your thing. So we do this thing called the daily practice here, and I learned it from a woman who was sober in AA, and it is basically like the 10th, 11th, and 12th step. 10, 11, you continue to write, what, in this case, fearful, resentful thoughts, and then you follow it with meditation. If you want to learn this, it goes so nicely with a 12-step program, and I have a free course that's always linked down below in the description section, so you can check that out if you like and give it a try. But it's a way that it can help you process what is happening, how you feel when all the resentment gets to be too much for you, when the anxiety gets to be too much, fear and resentment. You'll be familiar with the language from it. Oh, it turns out it works beautifully for trauma wounds and to help process things. And we have literally thousands of people here in my membership program who are using it, and also people just all over YouTube, all over the world. It's so simple to use. So you might want to try that. It turns out that when we're traumatized as kids, and you were traumatized, it can cause an injury to our ability to process thoughts and feelings, which kind of explains why it just feels like, oh, it just gets to be so much in your head sometimes, right? So I offer this to you as a way to just keep rinsing it out, moving it downstream, see what you think. I teach it in my book, Re-Regulated. I teach it in a free course called The Daily Practice. And I'm all about this. I'm all about using techniques to get your nervous system re-regulated whenever you do get dysregulated, but also just start the day re-regulated. Just do it every day and get in the habit of it. And then you start to get stronger, and you start to get better perception, better boundaries, better ability to express yourself. So even at work, if you said, oh, you were working without boundaries, and now you can start, you'll be a little more in touch with the feeling like, I don't have to say yes to this. I think today I'll say no. So it can be really helpful for that. But I'm glad you're entertaining giving it a chance. I hope you have lots of support so that if it turns out to be, not great for you or threaten your sobriety, you can step out, and maybe your friends in recovery and your partner can help you figure out an exit strategy to have in your pocket the whole time, to just know how you're going to step away from it if necessary. So I use things that I call ninja boundaries for this. It's about how you can get together with people who are difficult for you to be with and not get all embroiled in any drama with them. Even if they try to make drama, you can just kind of dodge it, and with what I call ninja boundaries. It's a free handout I've got. You can download it if you want it for free right here. And I'll see you very soon.